Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of Indigo Unknown.
Episode 2.
I'm Brendan.
I'm Waylon. Was that good? Waylon. That sounds unnatural, you know? I'm Waylon.
But you are.
You have to call me Nighthawk.
You are Waylon at the end of the day.
Yeah, I am who I am.
Morning, noon, and night, you're always
Waylon.
second fiddle. So this week's episode,
Second?
the butterfly effect with a minor in fate.
Chaos theory.
Chaos theory as well. Goes hand in hand with the butterfly
It does.
effect, but we'll get into that in a little bit. While I was doing some research on weird things, I came across a story about this guy named Mel Waters.
He found a weird website. He's on the list now.
Next week, my hearing. This guy named Mel Waters. I'm sure a lot of our listeners, mystery viewer, are familiar with the Coast to Coast radio show.
Absolutely.
With Art Bell. So this guy called in 1997.
Is it Art Bell still? Someone took over, right? I can't recall if someone took over for
Art Trombone, I think.
Whistle.
It's Art Whistle now.
Okay.
Mel Waters. So he calls in and he starts explaining that he's got this piece of property near Ellensburg, Washington. And it's got this huge hole on it that I guess all the townspeople have been dumping their trash in. Like whenever they've got something that, you know, they just don't want to deal with. A refrigerator, a dog, I guess. A dead dog. The dog was already dead.
Of course it did, dog.
I mean, it's dead now.
We don't want PETA on ours.
No. Well, we didn't do it.
No. Well.
So it appears that this hole just doesn't have it never ends. You never hear anything hit the bottom when you throw something in there. There's no echo when you yell into it. So people have just been filling it up with trash, and it's just darkness. It goes down just crazy deep. So Mel, he's got some fishing equipment, so he used some weights and some fishing line, and he calculated that it was more than 80,000 feet deep.
Did they ever find out how deep the hole actually was?
Well, it's more than 80,000, so open your ears.
Gotcha.
And
You are perfectly correct.
Mel's dogs never wanted to go anywhere near it. He'd try to bring them over with a leash. They'd dig their feet into the ground and pull back. And like I said earlier about the dead dog, a neighbor of his threw his dog's body in the hole, and then a couple days later...
The neighbor's dog.
Yes, the neighbor threw the neighbor's dog.
His dog into the hole.
Another neighbor's, as revenge over a property dispute.
So it wasn't the neighbor's dog, it was another neighbor's dog.
No, it was the first neighbor's dog.
Okay.
So he threw it in there. A couple days later, he's out hunting, and he sees what appears to be his same dog with the same collar and everything, same tag, running through the woods while he's hunting.
It's kind of like Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, a little bit. Real life, maybe. Other people have said that they've seen black beams of light coming from the hole, just straight up in the sky, like a black flashlight. Like
I'm trying to picture
like a
that.
darkness light, I guess.
I'm trying to picture that. I can't. Not like a black light, but like an actual darkness.
just a solid
Opaque.
beam of black
Okay.
behaving as light. And apparently, if you brought a portable radio near the hole, it would start playing programs and music from the past.
Justin Bieber.
Yes, from the past. And metals would change into other metals. So, alchemy. And Mel came home one day, and there were some government agents all over his property. They told him that a plane had crashed, and he couldn't go anywhere near the hole. And when he asked, why not? You know, it's my property. Why can't I walk around? They basically told him...
Fucking A.
Nice.
Flashcards.
For those listening, Waylon just ruined his notes for the show. Soaked him in beer.
It's fine.
That's why we don't drink. They told him that if he didn't want to play ball and basically leave them alone, that they wouldn't have any trouble finding a meth lab on his property. It's a little sketchy, a little worrisome.
Which I actually believe that they have the power to do
I'm
that.
sure.
That's
All
the
they gotta
scary.
do
That's the
is-
scary part.
Truck in some paraphernalia and say, hey, found this.
Breaking Bad.
Yes, Breaking Mel. So the government offered him $200,000 to lease the land on the, I guess, with the caveat that he had to leave the country. So Mel leaves for Australia because he really didn't want anything to do with it. He wasn't doing too well financially, so he figured he'd take his money and go, I guess, away from any of that trouble. Well, he started to get homesick, and a couple years later, he came back. And as soon as he got back, he saw an officer and a citizen arguing. No big deal.
It happens.
Blue Lives Matter. And the officer asked him to come to the station to fill out a statement saying that Mel observed the citizen threatening the officer. 12 days later, Mel wakes up with no molars, and he's covered in puncture wounds, like IV puncture wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Like he'd been poked with something a lot. So he borrows some money from a nephew, gets back to his property, and he finds that the government seized all of it. The whole property, everything. There's been, according to his neighbors, black vans and helicopters around. Weird shit. Roads blocked off near it. So he starts doing some research about this because he knows now that something's definitely up. There's no plane crash. Something's up with that hole in his yard. So he finds another one in Nevada, a similar hole, and the local tribe allowed him to investigate it. So with that tribe, he starts doing some tests. One of the tests they did was they lowered a sheep down into the hole. The sheep didn't want to go. It's a little inhumane. It didn't want to go, so it started freaking out, just like his dog.
Even a sheep is going to be like, no,
don't lower me into that hole.
hole.
Yeah, the sheep will know. So they had to knock the sheep unconscious, again, inhumane, start lowering it into the hole, and then when it regained consciousness, they could hear it freaking out as it descended in the darkness. When they pulled it up, I guess after it stopped making noise,
they
shaved. Pulled it up. No, it was still presumably fully woolen. However, it was cooked from the inside out.
Wow.
And that's not where things cook from, typically.
No. Well,
I mean, it depends. If it's like a lasagna, the center is usually cold.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know. However...
Ooh, that was a close one. Okay, I have this... Let's stop right here. I have this thing going with Brendan, and that I will not say one word absolutely...
Specifically
through the entire.
Don't say that anymore either.
Through the entire episode, and it's almost did it. So.
Yep, you're on one.
Carry on. No, that's half of one.
So when they pull the sheep out, it's cooked from the inside out, and it had a tumor inside it. And when they, I guess, opened up that tumor,
it's not a tumor.
Yeah, it was not in this case.
Did they strap a light to the sheep's head?
So when they opened up the tumor, they found inside it what Mel described as a fetal seal. You know, like a sea creature, the seal. Not like the singer.
That's what I was thinking.
That'd be nuts. That'd really be something. Anyhow,
Kiss from a Rose.
Nobody heard from Mel for a long time. I think he went on Coast to Coast for the last time in 2002. And in 2011, he resurfaced online and claimed that everything that he had said before was real, is all true. The issue is nobody was able to find any record of a guy named Mel Waters ever living in that area. So, either he's a liar, or the government... Thank you. The government did a great job of making him disappear. Or he's a liar. Could be a liar.
Pants on fire.
But I thought that was interesting because I'd never heard of anything like that.
You let me hear the segment, and it was presented by a weird cat, by a weird character anyway, the one that told the story of Mel Waters.
Yeah, the video that we watched about it.
But I don't know. It's one of those things where it could be real.
It could be covered up like that?
It could be covered up.
So, there's also been people online saying that that there's tons of these holes. Well, not tons, but several of these holes around the world. that are also seemingly never-ending.
Like Vegas
and
has
people claim
tons of
that,
holes.
oh boy, people that claim they are portals to other dimensions, or maybe like the end of a black hole, or a portal into space.
Gateway. Yeah.
Maybe that creature that they pulled up out of the sheep was some type of alien.
But no pictures. That's the strange thing.
Right.
No pictures, no evidence.
I listened to some of the original Coast to Coast where Mel was talking about this the first time he came on, and Art asked him about if he could get some pictures, and he said that he didn't want to get too close because the agents were all around. He said that he would see if he could make a drawing for them. I don't know if that ever came out. I couldn't find it. So, as far as evidence, we don't really have anything other than this guy's testimony and other people saying these holes exist.
Yeah. I'm not going to discredit it because it could happen.
I want to believe things like that.
So getting into tonight's topic, the butterfly effect, that is a great story about the bottomless pit. And
let's venture away from it as fast as we can.
Yeah, but I did enjoy that story.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that was... You showed it to me when we were bored driving around, and it was entertaining.
Yeah, we don't hang out outside this podcast.
No. It's court mandated. We're getting into the butterfly effect.
It's actually both of our community service is to hang out with the other.
Yeah.
That's how we get our hours.
90 hours. So we have 90 hours of podcast that we have to complete.
88 now.
89.
89. Yeah. Which, that's nothing when you got 1,000 years to live.
So we're getting into the butterfly effect, coined by Edward Lorenz. He was a meteorologist for I believe it was the United States Army Corps back in the 40s. He coined the term the butterfly effect, which basically is a concept that small causes can have large effects. Mostly weather, pretty much anything in life.
He started it referring to weather, but it's...
Since he was a meteorologist, I mean, that's where he...
Right. It's not out of character for him to be talking about weather.
No. I mean, that's his job.
That's kind of his thing,
He gets
right?
paid for it. I mean,
well, he did. He's probably 135 now.
But what's the word I'm looking for? The famous...
Verb.
Adverb. You still got jokes for this week, huh? Okay. Keep them up. No, the famous, the example of the butterfly effect, flapping its wings in Brazil, can cause a tornado in Texas. They're using that pretty much as an example. That the likeliness of that happening is pretty much non-existent. I mean...
Right, but it's a good way to demonstrate that small changes can lead to widely varying results.
Absolutely. And let's get into your story, your anal... Let's get into your anal. God damn it. The story that you told me, a great example of the butterfly effect, about the bee pollinating the flower, so on and so on. I'll let you get into that.
All right, so I don't remember exactly what I said, because it's been months. But let's say a bee does not pollinate a particular flower. Maybe that flower, because there's never that pollination, flower never grows. Some guy was walking down the street, he was thinking about picking that flower, giving it to the girl he had a crush on. Well, if that flower's not there, there's nothing to pick, there's nothing to give the girl, she's not impressed with him. I've heard that women like flowers, I don't know if that's true. Yeah, it's a stereotype, you know?
Yeah.
So she never gets the flower. They never go on their first date. Never get married. Never have kids. Cancer's never cured. There's never a second Hitler.
Wow.
Any number of one, it's all hypothetical.
There's never that's a good thing, though.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
So don't pollinate that.
The second Hitler, not only did he cure cancer, he became... the second Hitler.
I mean, you take the good with the bad.
Absolutely,
you know?
It's balance. It's balance. That's like two right there. That almost said absolutely. That one doesn't count.
And there's push and there's pull, you know?
Absolutely.
Right?
Oh, God bless America. Oh. But that was funny, though. Second Hitler would never be in existence.
Or, guy who invents interdimensional travel. Whatever. We probably don't need that, though.
Gum.
Yes.
That's the name. That's the brand name of the
me.
gum. But no.
That's the name of a dumb podcast.
It is. It's Indigo Unknown.
And
perhaps you know about it.
And if it never existed, we'd all be better off.
We would be better off. But he did, Edward Lorenz, he coined the term the butterfly effect. And he publicized a paper in the 40s called, I forgot the name of it. He publicized a paper, and pretty much the foundation of quote-unquote the chaos theory, which goes hand in hand with the butterfly effect.
Wing and wing with the butterfly
wing,
effect.
if you will. So yeah, a couple examples of the butterfly effect.
The butterfly effect,
Thank you.
as
I'm
it's
just gonna drink
colloquially
my beer while you
known.
talk.
Example here. It's kind of a long one. I hope I don't ramble, but I'm sure I will. So,
Please do, because apparently I have my foot in my mouth and I cannot talk tonight.
you got to get those show notes, homie.
I have them, but
Well, you spilled all that beer on them,
Yeah.
and now
it's just a blur.
it's just illegible. You keep trying to read it, but there's nothing there.
It's like art.
Yeah, Art Bell. So, in 1890,
Whistle.
yes, 1890 in Indiana, there's this cat named Harlan who's born.
Harley.
Young cat. It wasn't actually a cat, it was a guy.
Okay.
All right, 10 years old, Harlan becomes a farmhand. 13 years old, he left home to paint carriages in Indiana. 14 years old, he becomes a farmhand again, southern Indiana. 16 years old, he becomes a streetcar conductor, which seems young for that responsibility, but
16?
yeah.
Wow.
I'm not a doctor, He also enlisted at 16 in the Army using false documents because, you're too young for the Army, you're too young for the streetcar, as the saying goes.
Doogie Howser.
17 years old, he was honorably discharged from the Army, became a blacksmith's helper, and later got a job cleaning the ash pans out of trains. And he met his wife while he was working on the railroad. She wasn't his wife then. Became his wife later.
Yeah. He did.
Yeah.
Okay, nice to meet you, wife.
Wow, we're married? 19 years old, he moved to Tennessee. He's still working on railroads, but he started studying law. This is where it takes a turn, because he practiced law for 3 years and then stopped practicing law after a courtroom brawl with one of his clients. So it takes another turn. 26 years old, he starts selling life insurance. At 30, he established a ferry boat company. So this guy's done it all already at 30. He's had a few
Wow.
jobs. He obviously can't hold down a job.
No.
He can't hold the job.
No.
He can't not brawl with a client in a courtroom.
Apparently he's good at cleaning buckets from trains. I mean,
Yeah, he
the ash
can
buckets.
clean your ash pan.
Yeah.
His-
Is it a bucket or a pan?
it's a pan.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
Later
it's a
he
whole
coined
pan.
it the bucket.
Yes. Wait.
Bucket list.
Yes, his bucket list included meeting his wife.
Mm-hmm.
So, 30 years old, establishes the ferry boat company, and he sold his shares in that company later and used the money to establish a company that manufactured acetylene lamps. If you don't know what those are, nobody does, because the electric lamp was soon invented and became popular, so the company failed. 34 years old, Harlan starts selling tires for Michelin. He then lost that job because the company shut down a manufacturing plant in New Jersey. So there were no more tires to sell and no need for a Harlan. So he meets the GM of Standard Oil of Kentucky just by chance. Runs into this guy. And the GM wanted him to start running a service station for them. So 40 years old, after that service station closes, now he's running a service station for Shell Oil. Well, he starts selling food at the service station. Old-timey truck stop, right? So homie's selling this food, right?
The butterfly.
One of his competitors at a nearby restaurant got angry because I guess Harlan painted a sign directing traffic to his restaurant, taking away business from this other guy. So the guy gets angry. He ends up shooting a Shell Oil official.
747.
Yes. Wait. So he shoots this Shell official. So now that guy's tried for murder, so Harlan doesn't have any competition. So he gets wildly successful selling this food. And, the oil as well. 49 years old, he buys a motel. The service station burnt down, so he rebuilds a motel with a restaurant inside. And during World War II, he started running government cafeterias, for the government, for the war effort. 62 years old.
Government cheese.
He franchised his chicken recipe to restaurants around the U.S. 69 years old.
Wait a second.
He
Is this Colonel?
establishes a restaurant.
Is this the Colonel?
Could be. You gotta wait.
Popeye's chicken.
If you'd give it a second.
Got it.
Yeah, this is Colonel Church.
I got excited about chicken.
We all get excited
Such a
about
fat
chicken.
kid. I got excited about the Colonel.
I love a good chicken.
Like the butterfly effect. I'm like, where is this going? And then
Well, he started
says-
frying butterflies. 69 years old. He establishes a restaurant and a company headquarters in Shelbyville, Kentucky. Expands internationally.
Fried.
Patents his chicken recipe. And now we fast forward to Southern California in 1978.
I'm allergic to chicken, by the way.
Shut up. Young lady starts working at a KFC in Los Angeles. April of 1979, this mechanic comes in for lunch. Well, they hit it off. 1985, they get married. And 1993, they have their fourth child.
Wow.
Brendan.
What? You're related to the Colonel.
No, it's not what I said.
Okay, continue.
Yes, so
I thought you had the ingredient, the special herbs and
I've
spices.
got the 12th. It's
Nice.
the cure for your blindness. So you could say that this podcast, my birth,
Okay, let's
everything
get back on
could
this
be attributed
to the Colonel.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the Colonel. You were telling the story of his life. It does. Now, the butterfly effect, would that
This is
actually
called the Colonel effect.
the Colonel effect? Would
Is
that
what it
actually
is.
fall into the butterfly effect? Or
I'm
hey,
glad you asked.
I'm going to try everything before I find my groove.
Is that fate?
From ash buckets to tires to hotels. And then he's like, you know what? Chicken.
But
Chicken.
good chicken.
It was good chicken.
Quality chicken.
It was. Not so much, well, we won't get into that, but it is good quality chicken. And he coined the term, I'm too drunk to taste this chicken. Do you remember that?
I think it was finger licking good is what they used. I think that became
that's what it was. I thought it was, I'm too drunk to taste this chicken. That wasn't their slogan, but I think
that was the guy from Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
That's right. Roscoe's on 23rd Street. Got it. But I haven't. That would that fall under the butterfly effect though?
Well, that's where you wonder: is that the butterfly effect because of that minor change of his birth, the courtroom brawl, running into the GM of an oil company just by chance?
That would fall into maybe the fate
or
side of things.
Is it fate? Because maybe let's say the Colonel never existed, or his other business ventures ended up working out, and he never started KFC. Well, if there was no KFC, maybe Madre applies at a different place. The mechanic goes to, Dad goes to eat lunch somewhere else, and they still meet. I think that would be fate, but of course we'll never know, because history only plays out one way.
Well, he didn't want to use the motto, it's finger licking good, for his wife.
He didn't have to. KFC did it for him.
Chicken. He's like, tires. Wife, finger licking good. She's like, no, you better get into the chicken, because, no. Listen here, Sanders. Listen here. But no, you're right. That could fall under fate. That could fall under the butterfly effect.
Because it's definitely, everything that happens, every minute, every decision, every single thing is a change that history, we would assume, would play out differently if it didn't happen.
Yeah. So.
But that's where the fate argument comes in, because if something's supposed to happen, I think it will, regardless of those changes.
Yeah.
But like I said, we'll never know.
Now I have chicken on my mind.
I'm thinking time travel. So we're on
747.
different planes, if you will.
But here's another example of the butterfly effect. Back in 1905, an 11-year-old boy named Frank Epperson, he left a drink on the back patio, and it was cold at night, and the drink froze.
They called him Popeye when he started making his chicken.
No.
Oh, this isn't the chicken episode.
No, we're on something. I almost said the name, but we're on to something else.
Oh, okay, so he's got a frozen drink on the back porch.
He has a frozen drink.
Was it a soft drink?
He was an 11-year-old boy.
Water.
It wasn't
Was it like a milk? Did he have a frozen milk?
It was chocolate.
Okay,
No,
so it's frozen.
No, it was a fruity drink. It was a fruity drink.
Okay, it was like a V8 splash.
Yeah,
Okay,
maybe. I don't know.
smoothie.
I don't think they had V8 Splash back then.
When was this?
1905.
So it was just regular V8.
I don't think they had V8. I'm pretty sure it was just regular, like, sugar water.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying. And he had a stick in it. he left
That classic 20th century drink.
Stick
Sugar with
in
water.
his drink. You don't want to say that fast. Say that fast. Do it. Oh, episode 2, nice. But he left a stick in his drink, and the next morning it was frozen. So, 1923, he marketed Episicle, which was later turned to Popsicle, and that's our classic treat that we enjoy on hot summer days.
You might.
Sometimes I do. I don't know.
So he had
He came up with the idea.
he
of
asked his mom,
popsicle.
hey, can I have a nice sugar with
Sugar
water?
water.
The classic
Add a little fruit
1908 drink.
They were very simple.
The taste
back
of a
then.
generation.
They were just sugar water. Tonight's episode number 2, brought to you by Sugar Water.
I'll take my water with sweet and low,
Yeah. Well,
but I wouldn't freeze it.
he didn't mean to freeze it, but that's.
So wait, hang on. Why was there a stick in his drink?
I don't know. He was stirring the
He
sugar.
had to stir in the sugar
Yeah.
because it doesn't just dissolve; it'll settle,
You get that little,
and then you
little
get
layer of sugar
and
at
then
the
it's
bottom.
just water, and you get that sugar taste at the end. Now, for the listeners, you got to mix your sugar
You do.
well. Usually boil it, but if you're in a pinch, you can get a good stick and just stir it.
Yep. So that could be butterfly effect. Him
That's
leaving
it.
his drink out with the stick, or is that fate once again? I think fate and
If it was
the
a little
butterfly-
warmer outside, we wouldn't have popsicles.
Well,
Someone would have
probably
figured it
would,
out.
Yeah,
They just
not,
wouldn't have been that guy.
Not back in 1923. No. Another one is
It was in 1923.
1923. Popsicles. Popsicles. Let's see.
Were they named after his dad?
No, they were named after him. Well,
Father Sickle?
Father Sickle
And they shortened it.
to Frank Sickle.
Yeah. The good old Frank Sickle.
Back in World War One, speaking of butterfly effect, this was a really, really interesting one. It's too long of a story to tell, but I'll
We've already had a couple long stories. We can.
well, this
In
one's
for a penny,
this
in
one's
for a
pretty long,
pound,
but
you know
I'll,
what I mean?
I'll break it down to a paragraph. How's that?
That's
because
good.
it's World
Is it a
War
long
One.
paragraph?
It's World War One.
It's all of World War One.
All of it. Well,
Oh
not
my
all
God,
of
we can't cover that.
it. Exactly.
Sure, someone owns the rights to World War One.
Prince. Gavrilo Princip
Hallmark.
shot and killed Archduke and his wife back in
Archduke Ferdinand.
June 1914. Him doing that, shot and killed him and his wife, the Archduke, set off a chain of events that started World War One a month later. So, is it fate or is
Maybe
it
if he hadn't shot him, maybe if he had missed, he hit somewhere else and the guy survived, it wouldn't have
Well,
been
it started like a chain of events from him
such a
shooting
travesty.
him and his wife. Is he responsible for 16 million dead and 20 million injured? I mean, that's
Well, depending on the, I guess, the political climate at the time, it depends on if things were close to a boiling point, and that's what pushed it over the edge. And
like sugar. What you need for
Yeah,
a,
like a sugar
1908 sugar water,
mm-hmm.
boiling water,
yeah, boil it always,
sugar.
and then start World War One.
Absolutely.
Right, they would have had the popsicle in World War One.
That was number 3 for that word.
That's actually Archduke Ferdinand was going to create the popsicle, and that's why he was assassinated.
Yeah.
As a little known fact, he always had sugar in his water, and he was experimenting with different flavored waters. He had like a sparkling. He had a Perrier.
He did, but this Gravilla guy,
Like a Propel with lemon.
he had the pudding pop idea, and he wanted to take him out. Okay, this is totally ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That did not happen, but that's...
We'll never know, because was it fate, or was it the popsicles? You know, they called...
Fate-sicle.
World War One was the guerrilla popsicle combat.
I hope people do not use our podcast for
Yeah, if you're taking a history test soon,
midterm. No, you're going
I'd
to fail miserably.
Shut this down.
Your butterfly effect will you'll end up on 23rd and 15th.
Listening to this podcast, is this what got you disenrolled in your college?
Yeah. So you're welcome. Another one. Oh, this is a really good one. The internet. We all know
Al Gore.
We all know it's not Al Gore. Sorry,
sworn.
Al. Sorry, Al. A guy named by the name of Tim Berners-Lee. He first no, it wasn't Gore. He first invented the internet back in August 6th of 1991. His first page that he made on the internet. It was not.
Oh.
It was about popsicles. How to properly stir, because some people they thought
they were using too big of a stick,
Exactly.
and it wouldn't freeze around it.
counterclockwise, the water will not
Proper,
freeze.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I said at that time because it was worthy of that time. Because you cannot stir sugar water counterclockwise.
For the listeners, Waylon has used none of his synonyms for absolutely.
It's right here in front of me.
He's got a whole chart.
Brain institution.
He's got none.
truly.
He's used none.
I used one perfectly.
That's not one.
That is one. That's a synonym of that word.
We're not gonna get into that.
No. But
So the internet,
Tim Berners-Lee,
Gore.
he pretty much made the first internet page, and what's funny is the page was how to make an internet page. And what it comes down to is he made zero money from this. No money whatsoever, and he's like living somewhere in a remote island.
He's stirring his
Bungalow.
sugar
He's-
water counterclockwise.
He's kicking himself in the ass because
He's got his plans for Ferdinand.
is that the butterfly effect? Once again, fate. Most of these stories are leaning toward
He's
fate.
got a bucket of chicken.
Bucket of chicken. He is not too. Well, he might be a little too drunk to taste the chicken. Because if I lost
At
out
this
on
point,
the internet,
In
like,
the quintillions of dollars that are the internet.
if I had to mow lawns for a bucket
Boy.
of chicken instead
Ugh.
of yeah.
You know what he should have done is kept it a secret.
Yeah.
And made
The-
people go through him for it, like T-Pain with auto-tune.
Mm.
If you want auto-tune, you got to have T-Pain in your song for at least 2 bars.
That is true. T-Pain. The butterfly effect. Any more examples of the butterfly? I mean, it ties hand in hand with
Everything.
everything, pretty much everything.
Anything that's ever happened can be attributed
Weather.
to something
That's why
else
meteorologists suck at their
Some
job.
minor
they don't
change.
suck at their job. It's just you cannot predict the weather. You cannot predict it's going to snow. No,
happening. Waylon's not a meteorologist.
I'm not, but I'm just saying,
He's really talking out his ass.
think about it.
No, you're right. If there's some minor change,
Finger licking.
it'll be 90 degrees tomorrow instead of
Yeah.
60.
And it happened last week here. They were
Right.
calling for snow, then they weren't, and then they were calling for it. Because every little thing, it's the butterfly effect.
Anything that's ever happened has changed something.
Have you heard of the double pendulum?
Yes.
That is a good example.
Completely unpredictable.
Unpredictable, and it's mesmerizing to watch. Actually,
It's pretty
because you
cool.
think you're like, oh,
You
I
think
see
you've got the
I see
pattern. There's
and then
no
that,
pattern.
that bottom pendulum just starts swinging crazy.
It's a simple system. It's basically two bars, beams attached at a joint, and one swings freely from the other. But when you add a second joint, and allow all three to swing freely, there's no predicting that pattern. One causes the other to move, the other causes the first one to move, and they bounce back and forth, just spinning out of control.
It's crazy. It'll be like going in a pattern, and then all of a sudden it'll start spinning crazy. And that's like the weather. That's why meteorologists have a pain in the ass time to... We haven't cussed much in this episode, have we?
Fuck.
Thank you. That's how they can't predict the weather, because every little change, like you can't... It's crazy. The double pendulum. Which goes to the rolling of dice.
Yeah, there's totally unpredictable, totally random. But again, that minor change, maybe you throw it a little harder, you throw it less, and you end up losing that round.
Maybe
of,
you sneeze.
Strip snake eyes.
Maybe you have the bad bucket of chicken from the Colonel, and
you don't feel too well. You miss out on that game of dice.
Your dice game is gone. But no, the thrust, orientation, direction. It's virtually impossible to have the same twice. Just because it's the chaos theory.
No. Counterclockwise. Otherwise, it'll freeze.
Yeah. No, you want it to freeze. You want.
Was it really just sugar? It was just water? Or did he have like a fruit punch? Like a 1920s punch.
They might have had a punch.
He had it was like a Hawaiian punch, but
Hard punch.
It was like roaring 20s punch.
Jungle juice. His parents may have gave him
flapper juice.
Yeah,
is what
flapper
they call
juice.
It. Flapper juice.
Flapper juice.
They had some swing-its, like squeeze-its. It was swing-its.
Swing-its. Nice. Like Capri Sun. That's another story of how the Capri Sun got invented.
Yes, in the 1920s. It was actually one of Colonel Sanders' failed adventures.
The Colonel and the buns were actually made. They were made from. This is a true story right here. They were made from tires.
When they shut down that plant, they had to make Capri Sun pouches with the tires. Capri Sun pouches froze. They took the foil off, stuck the straw in anyway. Popsicle.
And at the time, you could only buy them at one certain hotel.
Yes.
On a train.
That was the Cecil Hotel, which we'll talk about in next week's episode.
Cecil, that's a great hotel. Great hotel. A lot of horror stories. We might tell them went in with the ghost.
I was going to say, we'll talk about that in next week's episode, where our topic will be
the ghosts. Not the ghost, but
not
ghost.
Not the movie.
No, not Ghost. Not with Whoopi.
That'll be episode 26.
Yeah. We're waiting on Whoopi.
Whoopi's ghost.
Whoopi and Patrick.
Special guest, Whoopi.
But Whoopi and Patrick. Patrick will be an actual ghost this time.
And we're going to have to do a seance.
We will. But we're getting nowhere.
We're going to do a lot of pottery. We're doing work on pottery all night until he shows up.
I am not wrapping my hands around you and playing a love song on any podcast of Indigo Unknown. Although the visual is funny.
Watch our second show. Waylon wraps his hands around me for pottery.
And I did have the time of my life during this episode.
All right, let's wrap this one up.
Yeah, let's wrap this one up and throw it away. We hope you enjoyed it. Like the butterfly effect, there's not much we can talk on. We can give examples. And
anything we talk about, any reason we're talking,
it's utter
anything
horseshit.
That's ever happened to you or will happen to you.
it's
utter horseshit. It's all. It can all be attributed to a smaller cause.
Yeah, but if any of you guys didn't know what the butterfly effect was, hopefully you have some kind of idea. That was the word I was looking for.
So we'll wrap it up here. Thank you for joining us, and tune in again next week for episode 3.
We're on episode 3.
It's rolling right along, isn't it?
It's rolling.
Steam engine. Clean out those ash pans, Colonel.
Demon?
Yes.
No, that's episode. We'll do that later.
That's later.
That might tie in tomorrow's, not tomorrow, but next week's episode.
Which will be about ghosts.
Ghosts.
So